And before we get started, can I thank my patrons of Tone? So nobody signed up recently. So yeah, the thanks to you guys. You guys are awesome. Richard P and Co. When I get to 100, I'm on something like 43. So we are on our way to 100. If you can help out the channel, really appreciate it. If not, a subscribe and a thumbs up and a comment. It all helps. Hey all, welcome to Circle of Sound. And today we have Necrophagist. Necrophagist. More specifically, the album Epitaph. So I call them the death metal Bigfoot because they just disappeared off the face of the earth. So Muhammad, nobody knows what he's up to. There's all sorts of rumors swirling around, but it's almost like a running joke. There has not been a follow-up to Epitaph, which blew people's minds. But that was one of the albums of the genre that wasn't like nails on the chalkboard to me, because there was so much skillage in the village. But how can he play and sing that at the same time? He does it live. I've seen the size of his hands. He's almost like built for guitar. Hell of a band. Something that, you know, I played in the style of, because I don't have Guitar Pro. Why do I have my phone on my knee? Because Ibanez are in the building. You know, Ibanez name their guitars Ibanez RX JZ12385. Hey bro, the RS 81235. It's the 81235S. What does the S stand for? Secret. Stupid ass Ibanez naming. This is a tough one. I think I dug about as deep as one can get without talking to the man himself. Most of the leads were recorded on an Ibanez Gem, the 77 BFP. And I think some of the other stuff was done on an Ibanez RG. And the amp was actually a rack. He used the rack, the Engel E860. The actual guitar solos were mostly done tuned to E standard. Most of the rhythm was basically in D standard on 6-string guitars for the most part, to my knowledge. There might be a 7 on there somewhere, but I think most of it is a 6-string guitar. Because in later interviews, Muhammad said, this is after Epitaph, years after, that he was having 7-string custom Zyphoses made by Ibanez, things like that. Basically the Chuck BC Rich copy, you know. So he said in that interview, you know, on the next album he's going to use 7 strings, so that, you know, I can presume that it's all 6 strings on the on Epitaph. But I'll go into more detail on the 7-string aspect later on. But that's in my opinion, is a foreshadowing. How long have Necrophagist been out of the game? Put it this way: their official website has a link to MySpace on it. Some of the first guitar memes were Necrophagist ones. But Muhammad would actually send tab to the other musicians to learn the songs. And they would, Christian, the other guitarist, who actually had quite a big part in a lot of the solos and stuff. I think he played some bass on it too. But he would actually put it into Guitar Pro. And the whole album is in Guitar Pro. But then obviously they put the real instruments over the top of it. So in the spirit of the album, this is my lower tuned Floyd Rose, you know, Ibanez style. It's a Kramer, so it actually sounds good. Don't forget, if you need help with your Ibanez, just call 1-800-MOSQUITO and they will sort you out. Yeah, I used this with the thicker strings for the rhythm, you know, to go down to the D. And then you could see that I used my other Kramer tuned to E with regular, you know, hybrid slinkies on them. I didn't play much in the way of solos. Interestingly enough, Christian, the other guitarist, he has an issue similar to me, but his two of his fingers are now affected. So he can effectively only play with 2 fingers on one hand. That's why he does quite a lot of two-handed techniques when he gets out of his comfort zone for certain moves. But people like Chris Poland have issues like that, and it like what happens with me is whenever you see my little finger, I use it rarely because I can't press down and I can't put any weight on it. It's a shame, man, and it comes from too much playing. I've always had that. I've always had slight weird stuff, like I can do that with my fingers. Not many people can do that. So Muhammad, his early influences are obviously Carcass, obviously Death, and you know, he has Putrefaction in one of his album, I think the first album name. So, you know, Rika, Putrefaction, Carcass. But that is that healthy obsession where you want to kind of not copy something, but, you know, just attribute to something. but then you twist your own style into it. And goddamn, songs like Stabwound and the rest of it blew my mind when I first heard it. It's kind of a running joke now with technical death metal. It's gone up its own arse like all styles do. But there's some bangers out there, but I think a lot of what Epitaph did for me to take it over the edge was the drumming. He is a ridiculously technical drummer, but he doesn't do as much as the tippy tap stuff, where it's nothing but fingers. He actually hits it quite hard. He does obviously use, for the blast beats and everything, you kind of have to just wrist and fingers. But for the most part, he kind of hits hard, because I've watched videos of him, and respect that. To get that level of proficiency and technicality and speed with the power, that makes the difference for me when it comes to these thousands of bands, with the D drums. Hans is a beast, man. But the guy that replaced him, he's fucking amazing. He is one of the guys with the lighter touch. But there's a great jazz drummer reacts to video of him playing, some of the tracks from Epitaph, I believe. And the reaction thing sucks. Half the time you can see them already singing a chorus before it's come on. You know what I mean? A lot of them have already watched it, but I like that one particularly because I could see him like physically geeking out as the song progressed. You could kind of tell that he's being genuinely entertained by this style of drumming. As for the cab, I think they did. What I used was I used a rack into a JCM800, and you couldn't tell because mine sounds Marshall as fuck. It's so Marshall. I'm using a Kramer into a Rocktron Piranha into a Marshall. How could you possibly get any more 90s? So I presume that they did use a cab. Probably, I believe the Engels back then had the vintage 30s in them. So if I got anything wrong, if you know anything about anything else that's good about this, what microphones they used, what cabs, or things like that, what is he, Scorpio or whatever, then let me know. Because that's why it's called Circular Tone, because you guys helped me out a lot. And speaking of help, thanks to Thomas Niehof, because he helped me out. He's a member of the forum that we have on Facebook. Just search Circle of Tone in Facebook and come and have a chat, share your music, share your techniques, and or just post memes. It's all good fun. It's a good bunch of chaps there. Over 2,000 people there now. It's getting out of control. So he was a big help. He actually had guitar lessons. We got a lot of this information from Christian. So he had guitar lessons from Christian, and he actually bought that amp from Christian. So it was the actual one that was used on Epitaph. And speaking of the newer drummer, in an interview he did, I think it was like 2006, he said that, the band is still knocking around, because it's been a while since the album was released. And then in 2016, he said, yeah, dead. The band is dead. It should be in a coffin. So, and why are the reasons? Why didn't they come out with another album? I can only speculate, but watching interviews, things like that, he was having a hell of a time with his record label. So what that tells me is he's probably contractually obliged to go with them or nobody else. Now, if anyone's watching that's in the business, get a major label to buy out whatever that shitty contract is, because it's money's nothing to them. This guy is a fucking genius, and he should have an album out where he doesn't have to deal with Relapse Records. So somebody throw Relapse a bone. I mean, they signed him. They deserve something, for pushing him into our faces, even though they were dragging their feet getting him to tour in the US and stuff. The amount of effort it takes to do a tour of that type of music, singing and playing and coming up with it, and recording and getting the drummer involved, the guitarist, the bass players, people, chop and change, they come in and out. It's such a process. I bet you he's thinking, this isn't worth it. The money and the amount of promotion they did for him, it probably was thinking, what am I doing it for? I'm going to do it for an underground forum of metal guitarists who like it, So it deserves to be pushed by a bigger label, but has the shark jumped on that type of music, but what could he come up with? He was way ahead of his time, so maybe he's still ahead of his time right now. So you can't think that just because that album sounded that way, his new one would sound another. And speaking of that, he said he was going to use his new a custom 7-string, the Ibanez Xiphos, or he had other stuff made as well after that for the new album. So extended range started really with Viacom and, in the public eye for metal. Before we go, actually 7-strings were used by people in the fucking 60s on fucking acoustic guitars. Yeah, so extended range, right? 8-string, 7-string, brutal, death, blah. Did that fuck him up? Did having to keep up with the Joneses in respect to extended range, did that fuck Necrophagist up? Because that's why all of my guitars are 6 strings. I am old school, and I will always be old school. So yeah, so I think it's a combination of lack of support from the label, his pride, because say like fuck you type of thing to the label, and also the pressure of following up one of the best tech death modern metals albums, and the 7-string might have been that final vanilla sausage that they put into the coffin of Necrophagist. Such a shame. The big metal Blackfoot. So that's it. I hope you liked it. If you like these types of vids, please subscribe and share it to your tech death nerdy friends that might like it. And there's the last rumor that I read about Muhammed was that the album is finished and that he has it on a thumb drive.
I have it on a thumb drive. I can show it to you. I just want to show it to you. And it was in the desk. Okay, this is weird. Shit. Okay. Right, where is it? It's orange. It's this big. It's just a thumb drive. So have you your crew seen it? Or anything? I mean, it looks like. In here? That's